for joining us today. Can you tell me more about the strategy that you used this semester about focusing on the practical aspects of the student's future?
Sure, Jennifer. So what I found was a little bit different this semester um, in the graduate program of higher education is that students seemed hyper-focused on their own careers and their own futures, perhaps a little worried about what COVID would change in terms of the job possibilities that might be out there for them. And I suspected kind of debating internally as to whether or not investment in the graduate program was a good idea at this phase in their career, given everything that was happening and the potential loss of jobs in the higher ed sector. So what I tried to do was listen carefully to what they were trying to accomplish overall in the program, not just in this one course, which was on the American Community College, but more broadly, what their focus and intent was. And then to try to find ways to match that up with things in the course. So I pointed out several job opportunities that were available at the university. I made time to review some of the students' resumes and talk with them about, the types of questions they might be asked in an interview. Fortunately, two of them were able to get hired at the university this semester, which I think was a big relief to them, both economic relief, but also the sense that there are still going to be a lot of jobs in higher ed. Higher ed is not going away as a result of COVID. It's a matter of kind of repositioning yourself and thinking about what you might want to be doing and then getting it done, getting some good, sound, professional and practical advice on how to move forward. Now, normally my course doesn't focus on career necessarily. It's a more broad based class, kind of a little bit of information about a lot of different topics related to American community colleges. But I felt like in this moment in time, it was important to listen to the students and their anxiety about their own futures and to try to pivot a little bit to focus what we were spending some time on anyway, to match them up to things that might broaden their perspective or give them real life opportunities, kind of the practical things that I think students want from a graduate program.
Yeah, that's really great. So what was the student response to this strategy that you were using?
Well, I think they liked it a lot. I mean, yeah, I tried to individualize it and I didn't make it a big overarching part of the class. I just tried to reach out independently with one student when he was doing his project and kind of debating what he should do the project on. I suggested that he might focus on community college foundations because he works in a lower level position at the ASU Foundation. And he was actually surprised to realize that there are foundations that operate in the community college world. And so as part of his research, he had to do his library research, but I also wanted them to meet with somebody professionally who had a job and could give them practical knowledge about the area that they were researching. So I connected him with the CEO of the Maricopa Community Colleges Foundation. And the student was delighted to find out that there was this whole nother segment of higher ed that he could explore jobs and careers in. And actually the CEO of the foundation was delighted to have met this student who is so bright and articulate and hardworking. He was like, hey, Maria, I'm going to be recruiting out of this program now. I didn't think about that, because most people who study are in student affairs or academic affairs. You don't often find people who want more of those infrastructure jobs in colleges or higher ed. And so he just hadn't thought about maybe looking at the Mary Lou Fulton Teachers College graduates as potential people who would serve his organization well. So that's just one example of several. I worked with one of our students who's actually currently teaching in the K-12 system, but her goal is to move into the higher ed system. And so I have encouraged her to use ASU's career services, which are stellar. We have fantastic career service opportunities here for students. But she also asked me to look over her resume because she couldn't figure out why she wasn't getting interviews. And to be perfectly honest, her resume was a little bit of a mess. And, you know, you just can't do that. It was everything from typos and grammatical errors to just the way that you describe what you've done. You know, and she's really such a promising person. I mean, she has such promise. She just needs a little more guidance in the practical aspects of what she's doing here in her graduate program.
Well, that's great. Well, thank you so much for sharing that with us today.
You're welcome.